Hola, hola amigos. Unfortunately, no hablas español, so I'll continue in English. In short, my name is Yavor Stoikov. I'm a 3D artist in Chaos Group, architect in the background, and the goal of the company is to create something for the users, for you guys, to visualize your best creative idea in the best possible way. That's why this is here, very next. And now I'll talk about very next in SketchUp. Yes, I want to see my screen, excuse me. What is very in SketchUp? 3 things you have to remember. It's smart, it's fast, and it's powerful. 3 simple things. It's smart because take a smart decision. It's fast because grab the CPU, GPU, different algorithms, fast algorithms. And it's powerful because can handle all of your situation, with heavy geometry, with different effects, with everything. This is some of the highlights from the Viri. Next, the first is the workflow with asset management window. Everything is there. User experience design render settings. Material library embedded, ready to use. Utility tools, really deep integration with everything with SketchUp. The VFB, new color corrections, new lens effects, smart algorithms like adaptive dome lights, auto exposure, auto light balance, and not least, performance, CPU or GPU or hybrid, simultaneously CPU and GPU, interactive or production with buckets or progressive, a lot of optimization on the GPU, new algorithm for AI denoiser, for look depth, and improved V-Ray denoiser for production. From sketch to the 3D model and picture, photorealistic picture, in 45 minutes. So the overview is about the project, introduction about the V-Ray itself. How many of you are familiar with V-Ray? Are you familiar with V-Ray?
¿Quién conoce V-Ray?
Okay. The next thing is how to handle heavy geometry, how to create a camera and what we can do with the camera, how we can create materials, just drag and drop, assign, tweak some parameters, and the rendering part. For the project...
Simplemente quería aclarar que en este Masterclass vamos a ir viendo paso a paso cómo desarrollar un render fotorrealista, pasando por lo que es el manejo de la interfaz gráfica, los materiales, las luces, la producción y un poquito de postproducción. Vamos a ir viendo paso a paso.
Yeah, this Masterclass is something like a workflow from the very start till the end. So the idea, the basic of the concept, the project is family house, small family house, 2-story Scandinavian style. So for the introduction, now I'll show you where you can find V-Ray, what is V-Ray, how you can handle this, and what you can do with V-Ray in easy steps. This is the V-Ray toolbars and menus, asset editor, rendering, and what is the VFB and what you can do with the VFB. So, V-Ray you can find here in these toolbars. Rendering, frame buffer, lights, geometry, and specific utility tools.
Ahí tenemos las 4 barras de herramientas, principal, luces, objetos y utilidades.
This is the central point of V-Ray, the common central asset editor. everything is split again on material, lights, geometry, render elements, and textures. Here, on the settings, what we have, CPU or GPU or hybrid, then interactive mode or non-interactive mode called production. The first thing that you can do is, of course, click the render button. Using the production mode, you will not have the interaction from the model to the VFB.
El modo progresivo no es interactivo.
Yeah. But when you switch to interactive, you get instant feedback from the viewport to the frame buffer, via frame buffer. And now we don't have a ground, so there's an option, ground plane, infinite ground plane, mathematical algorithm.
Sí, aquí crea un plano infinito que en SketchUp no aparece, simplemente es un símbolo, y a la hora de hacer el render se ve ese plano que sirve de base.
Simple. Right-click, assign to objects, and now you have material to the object. Every material here you'll see in the material toolbar from SketchUp.
Añadido material a la base y todos los materiales se ven en la lista de SketchUp.
So the next important thing is not to apply one material per object, but to override the global override material for the scene. This is very important on the concept stage. So you don't focus on the material, you focus on the volume, on the camera, on the lighting, and everything. The camera, it's so easy, just exposure value as a slider. Smaller values means whiter image, larger values mean darker image. For the resolution, you can choose from preset-based aspect ratio or create your own custom aspect ratio with different resolutions in pixels.
Entonces, la forma en la que se va a ver el render, con el modo, la exposición de la cámara y con el material override para sobreescribir todos los materiales con un color base.
As you can see, the sun, you can tweak from the native shadows toolbar. So when you find the camera position, you can tweak the sun to grab the nice shot for the shadows. Here, the sun, this is the parameters of the sun. It's not so important, but if you disable the sun, now we have the illumination only from the sky, and you can see in the textures that the sky is linked to the sun, and they work like system. So when you change the position of the sun, it changes the color and the intensity of the sky.
Ha desactivado el sol para que solamente esté iluminado por el cielo de override. Y lo ha vuelto a activar.
So this is, again, the base material. Select your objects, go to material, right-click, apply to selection, and that's all. For now, we can't see the result because we have override. When you turn off the override, you can see the materials as to how it then appears. So the materials has diffuse, reflection, refraction, bump, and displacement options, the most important options in the material. For the materials, how to create them, right-click on the icon of the materials, or from the left side flyout menu, or you can use this built-in, ready-to-use material library. Just drag and drop from here, and again it's appear with the bucket apply to the objects, and that's all. Keep in mind that all the materials they're in real size, real world size, so you need to tweak the size from SketchUp to be 1:1.
Simplemente he añadido uno de los materiales predeterminados y se puede cambiar el tamaño de esa textura dentro de los materiales de SketchUp.
Another material from the Metal, again the metal came here. Again with using buckets, the bucket options, drag and drop. Keep in mind that this is a group with 2 layers. So when you apply the materials, it's applied on the whole group.
Ha añadido un nuevo material al grupo de la estructura interior con las ventanas, porque es un grupo.
So what is the workflow? Create another material with glass, apply to layer.
Y ahora en este caso ha aplicado el material del vidrio al grupo, a la capa de las ventanas de cristal.
So we have different options for assigning materials. The last material for now, it's just select a face, select from the wood and laminate material, apply to selection, done. 2.5 meters, just correct the size, done. That's all. Is it hard? I don't think so. Additional geometry. The additional geometry, I mean heavy geometry. All the furnitures with a lot of polygons. I mean millions of polygons. Using this type of heavy geometry in your scene, it will slow down the viewport. That's why the perfect workflow is using the VR scene or proxy. This will outsource the objects. In fact, the objects will not appear mathematically in your project. It will appear only in the render time. It will come from the file. It's file loader.
Un proxy es un archivo, un modelo de geometría muy pesada que se exporta directamente desde VRAI, se guarda en tu disco duro y luego lo cargas en SketchUp para que se vea simplificada, para que pese mucho menos y se ve perfectamente con sus materiales a la hora de renderizar. Y así consigues que tu escena queda mucho más fluida y mucho más suave, más ligera.
So again, from the central window, create V-Ray mesh, the loader in the scene, name it to keep your file organized, and go and load it from different folder. Doesn't matter it's local or from the your internal infrastructure.
¿Está cargando un proxy ya guardado en su disco duro?
The first one was the sofa. The next one will be the chairs, the chair for the dining area. Okay, so when you create these objects, these holders, they will not appear here, but a common workflow is to appear in the component list. So drag and drop, and that's all.
Ahora está, como podéis ver, ahora acaba de importar el proxy, es una geometría mucho más simplificada cuando en realidad el componente original puede pesar millones de polígonos y simplemente con esta geometría más sencilla ya lo empieza a colocar en la escena.
Keep in mind that this representation of the chair, it's to optimize the viewport to can handle the navigation, but in the render time you see the heavy geometry, the whole geometry, all the polygons.
¿Sí? Así es un archivo que en realidad pesa mucho y en VRAI lo exportas como proxy y lo que importas luego es un proxy en el modelo. Eso te permite optimizar muchos recursos, pero sobre todo que la navegación sea mucho más fluida.
¿Podríais mostrar cómo exportar simplemente rápidamente?
Lo veremos después de la presentación, por supuesto.
Porque es una funcionalidad de VRI, no es de SketchUp, ¿no?
Es de VRI.
Pero podemos usarla no para renderizar, sino porque también puede ser útil, no únicamente cuando vas a hacer un proyecto de renderizado, sino cuando vas a trabajar con objetos muy pesados, aunque no necesariamente tengas que renderizar, ¿no?
Efectivamente, sí. El tema es que luego tú puedes decirle la cantidad de polígonos que tú quieres que tenga ese proxy, para que tenga más o menos detalle. Pero si lo que quieres es mostrar el proxy como tal en la escena, se podría utilizar. Pero el objetivo es para renderizar.
Okay, so we placed our chair, then multiplied 6 times. Put it our sofa, put it in the place. So the next thing is to adjust the sum to light everything properly. In fact, when you open one of these objects, they're really heavy geometry. I mean, millions of polygons. This is because of the design and the quality of the objects. Of course, you can download and use from the warehouse objects, but to have the photorealistic manner is in the details. If something doesn't mean proper, you can find it.
Se puede tirar de la propia biblioteca de SketchUp, de la galería 3D, pero al poder tirar de otras bibliotecas con geometría mucho más detallada y compleja, pues te permite importar en OBJ, en FBX, que normalmente viene con mucha más geometría, por lo que puedes luego tirar del proxy para que así puedas trabajar más ligeramente con el programa.
Yeah. So the next topic is the camera. Nothing to scare about with the camera. With those options, auto exposure, auto white balance. Keep in mind that for now, they work only in production mode because they grab information only in production mode. So in interactive, you need to tweak the exposure value. But then in production, I will show you on the last steps that you only with one click and everything is done. So for now, let's unhide the glass. Something very interesting here from this object is this option really helpful, can be overridden. This is really cool when you're in override mode. That will force V-Ray to override everything except this material.
Como está trabajando con el material override, que está sobreescribiendo todos los materiales por un gris neutro, a uno de los materiales, como el vidrio, le dice que no se ve afectado por ese comportamiento para que deje entrar la luz y hacer el estudio de sol.
So here, let's navigate to different scene, different camera position, making advance the free camera to observe everything. And again, using the interactive mode. Most of the time, you want to use interactive mode when you set the scene, the camera, the lights, the materials, everything.
Está utilizando el render interactivo para poder generar la escena correctamente.
Yeah. So for now, you see that it's quite noisy, the result. That's why we have a solution, 2 types of denoiser, Nvidia and V-Ray denoiser. For look depth, for the first steps, using interactive, all the time, please use Nvidia AI denoiser. It's really fast. In interiors, it's really fast. When the lights come from the little light source or from the little opening, it's really fast.
Con VRI Next ahora tenemos el Denoiser por Nvidia, que es una nueva funcionalidad para hacerle el Denoiser, quitar el ruido de la escena de forma prácticamente automática, como podéis ver. Especialmente durante el render interactivo.
again, keep in mind that using this denoiser, you lose detail, but you grab the illumination, the color mood, everything. Everything. That's why you want to use the Nvidia AI denoiser for the look depth from the concept part, and then in the production to switch from Nvidia to V-Ray denoiser. So here you can see that it's quite dark. As I mentioned, we have different two types of automatic choices from V-Ray, but they works only in production mode. Auto exposure and auto white balance.
Va a aplicar el nuevo método de exposición automática y balance de blancos automático que tiene la nueva versión de V-Ray, que ya te hace ese cálculo de forma inmediata y automática.
Now, the next step, the materials. We have, for now, cameras, the sun position for different cameras. Now let's apply some materials. What you can use, the material libraries. I will show some interesting textures and the interaction tool. So on this step, most of these materials, 80% of these materials, they're from the library, from here. Drag and drop, apply, or little tweaks.
El 80% de los materiales son de los que vienen ya de forma predeterminada con V-Ray y simplemente hace algunos ajustes.
There's a camera called close-up table, and now let's see some interesting texture. But first, we'll turn off the denoiser to grab the detail. By detail, I mean the highlights. By highlights, I mean bevels or chamfers.
Va a quitar el denoiser para ver un poco más el detalle de las texturas y de los materiales, perdona.
You can see the hard edges. There's no way in the real life to have hard edges. There's always little bevel to grab the highlights.
En la vida real todos los objetos, todas las esquinas están con un poco están redondeadas y va a mostrar una forma de hacerlo con V-Ray en vez de con el round corner.
So this is the material from the library. From the diffuse, we have this texture. For the bump map, something really nice is right-click, wrap in, and this option will wrap the textures in different textures. So we can change the colorization, change the gamma, change everything without going to third-party software. And on the next steps, again, wrap it on these edges or rounded corners. What this texture does is only in render time will create this nice bevel. This bevel depends on, again, world units or pixels. This is a drop-down. And you can set the number. So don't need to bevel everything. So for the small details,
Como podéis ver, ha introducido la textura del mapa de bump dentro de una nueva textura de un mapa llamado Edge, que te permite automáticamente redondear esos bordes en el momento de renderizar.
Another approach for colorization is the native approach from the edit material, from here, from the SketchUp workflow. It will automatically turn on the V-Ray material. Doesn't matter color or bitmap. Now, again, something really interesting. We'll grab this, wrap it in triplanar map. This triplanar, it's really handy when you don't have nice, perfect UVs. On the one hand, we can use one texture from XYZ or a different texture on XYZ. So if you don't have proper UVs, this is the perfect method to create automatically UVs. So for the Z, we just rotate the texture in this direction. From the Y, we just again rotate in this direction. And with the size, we can correct the whole size of the textures.
Lo que ha hecho con este mapa, el triplanar te permite acoplar perfectamente una textura sobre una superficie más compleja y luego te permite cambiar unos parámetros para ajustar el tamaño y su orientación.
Lo hace siempre que haya dos caras con el mismo material en distinta posición.
Claro, se aplica sobre un mismo objeto que pueda tener una superficie más compleja, entonces como se asocia ese material, se asigna ese material a ese objeto, te la acopla perfectamente. Te la adapta.
¿Pueden ser dos caras o tienen que ser un componente?
Pueden ser varias caras.
Another interesting texture is the fall-off or Fresnel. Now you see this fabric, how it looks like. The fabric doesn't appear in this way, so we can create another layer to blend two different layers with the opacity. We can use two different methods. The first is fall-off or Fresnel.
Va a utilizar un mapa llamado fall-off que te permite ver diferentes cantidades de información lumínica según la posición de la cámara, para que así dé un efecto de reflexión.
The fabrics, they're really interesting because there appears different from the point of view and to the faces that are not pointing to the camera. This is the common approach when you create fabric materials.
Ese es el flujo de trabajo que se usa para crear tejidos. El mapa fall-off. Normalmente no. Para temas, otro tipo de materiales no es muy común. Se puede experimentar, por supuesto, pero está más enfocado para tejidos, terciopelo, etc.
¿Y para el efecto de grava tampoco valdría? ¿O de alguna cosa así como rugosa? ¿O para conseguir un efecto de gravas o de que tiene relieve?
Sí, pero fall-off no. Se utilizaría pues displacement. Sí, claro. Displacement, bump, edge, tienes diferentes mapas que te permite darle rugosidad y efecto de relieve.
So the last part, the rendering, is the easiest part. So we have some positions, okay, camera positions, okay, materials applied, okay, the rendering. You can use CPU or GPU rendering or hybrid rendering simultaneously, CPU and GPU. Keep in mind that there's two different engines, and it's good approach to not start to render on GPU for previs and then for production to switch to CPU. The result somehow will be different. If you want to, it's like to take your way on the road. Use CPU or GPU. Depends on your project, depends on your hardware, but don't mess them. Don't switch from one to another in one project.
Vale, en VRAI se puede renderizar tanto por el procesador, el CPU, o por la tarjeta gráfica, el GPU. Lo que comenta Yavor es que es muy importante que si trabajáis en un proyecto por CPU, que sea siempre por CPU, o si es por GPU, que sea siempre por GPU.
Of course, you can use progressive or using or rendering with buckets. The first will get more clear and clear with the time. With the buckets, will render with different spots with buckets. Really nice quality presets: draft, low, medium, high, really high, super high. You can render locally on your local machine or using distributed rendering to take advantage from your hardware in the office if you have dedicated render farm or anything else. for the first, before the rendering, you can see we don't have, I switch off the infinite plane. And this is in fact the sky, the V-Ray sky. So this V-Ray sky will copy and paste it in dome light. The dome light is half sphere light. Place it.
Lo que está haciendo es copiar el mapa de skylight, del cielo, dentro del domo para conseguir una iluminación interior mucho más eficiente y con menos ruido. Un método bastante normal dentro de los renders interiores.
Okay, so now we have the sky in the dome light. All these things, all this approach is to take advantage from the adaptive dome lights. Using adaptive dome lights, you don't need to create skylight portals in front of every window. And my mistake. To not lose time. So the good approach is, again, sun and sky, they works in a system, but the sky you can put in the HDR, in the dome light, to grab the advantage from the adaptive dome light.
Lo que ha hecho ha sido cambiar el mapa de sky por un HDR, que son mapas que se pueden incorporar dentro del domo.
Then here in the background, put 360-degree image. And that's all, only for the background. Of course, you can change the intensity. You can change the color correction. Again, wrap it in different color corrections. Colorize it.
Bueno, en este caso el HDR lo ha puesto para el fondo, para que a la hora de hacer el render el fondo se vea con una imagen de un exterior.
Okay, this is good enough. Keep in mind that all the time it's good to wash out what is out the window. And now, from the settings, turn off the interactive mode. So now we're in production mode. Again, turn off Nvidia, switch to V-Ray, production, auto exposure, auto white balance. For the render output, because for now we render on low res, type it your high res pixels, and that's all.
Ahora va a hacer un render de producción, así que ha aumentado la resolución de la imagen, ha activado el denoiser por V-Ray y simplemente le da a la tetera.
So this the first pass is it's a pre-pass to grab the information to feed the adaptiveness of the dome light. But this is from the smart things. You don't need to think about this. And now you render everything you're seeing. So when we render this image, from the RGB, switch to effect results. This is the denoiser. Now what you can do is to do additional color corrections without going to a third-party software, for example, to Photoshop.
Ahora va a hacer un poco de postproducción de la imagen, ajustar los colores directamente dentro de la interfaz de V-Ray.
Exposure value, highlight, burn, we can change the contrast, the temperature of the white balance. It's like in your photo camera. If you want to tweak something, hue saturation, then a color balance based on shadow, midtones, and highlights. And curve color corrections for fine tunes the levels. You see all these screens because time to time the denoiser kick in on every pass to denoise, and bloom and glare, lens effects.
Ahora va a aplicar unos efectos de lente para darle pues, unos efectos fotográficos a la imagen, con destellos.
And I think that we're good to go to another scene.
Ya tenemos el primer render.
The good things of the progressive rendering, again, as I mentioned, it can more and more clear with the time, but you don't need to wait till the end of the image. When you see the denoiser element that is good enough for you, just stop it, save it, and everything is okay.
Con la herramienta de Denoiser ahora podemos parar el render en cualquier momento o guardarlo, aunque no se haya finalizado. Cuando se aplique el Denoiser ya podemos exportar esa imagen en cualquier formato de imagen.
Good approach is to use the V-Ray frame buffer history to save your states or your progress in the project. Now let's go to the next camera. This is the whole floor.
Ahora está cambiando la relación de aspecto para cambiar el tipo de imagen.
Yeah, we now change the aspect ratio from landscape to portrait. And render.
El save frame es para ver en SketchUp cómo se adapta la relación de aspecto que has puesto en VRay. Es decir, como lo que se ve en la forma, el tipo de imagen que tienes en VRay no corresponde al de SketchUp, se te muestra esas barritas para decirte qué partes de SketchUp no se van a ver en el render. Lo que está en negro no se ve.
Yeah, the save frame is only for you to be sure that what you see in the viewport will be exactly what you see in the frame buffer. Again, save the next render. When we are happy with the quality, we don't need to wait till the end of the rendering process because of the V-Ray denoiser. The next camera, again, we need to change from portrait to widescreen.
Ahora va a hacer otro render, que va a cambiar la relación de aspecto a widescreen. Y lo bueno es que como está ahora mismo con el ajuste automático de exposición de cámara y white balance, ya se hace el cálculo, como podéis ver, automáticamente lo hace al tirar el render.
Again, on every image, you can change the color corrections from every image. And when you save the image in the V-Ray frame buffer history, keep in mind that all these color corrections, they will be embedded. What I did. They will be embedded in the history. So it's really easy to with right-click from the history to load color correction from one image to another.
Estaba comentando una función que tiene VR que se llama el History, que te permite guardar una escena creada con otra que hayas guardado para compararla y hacer pequeños ajustes y ver cómo está quedando una respecto a la otra.
And
El historial. El historial.
And now something really interesting from day to night, how we can convert the daytime scene to nighttime scene. What is the changes? The environment, so we don't have such intensive sky. We'll create artificial lights using directionality, like barn doors, to focus the lights on one direction only, and color temperature for this light. So this is the last state from the daytime.
Y ahora va a hacer los cambios pertinentes para crear una escena nocturna. Pasa al modo interactivo.
Yeah, the interactive mode is only to, again, when we place a light, to tweak the light, the intensity, the colors. When you place a light, just position it, and then it's really easy to create the real size of these lights.
Acaba de añadir un plano de luz y dentro de las configuraciones le puede cambiar el tamaño y luego lo pone en la posición correcta.
Positioning in the proper way. Now this light is rectangular, square.
Va a pasar la forma de rectangular a disco.
From rectangular to disc, again going to the previous camera view, the previous scene. Render using interactive mode, so we can change the environment, the light intensity, the color, everything. And for now, this is our light here. It's not so visible for now. What we can do, the first is turn off the sun.
Una escena nocturna, evidentemente, no hay sol, así que desactiva el sunlight.
Turn off the dome, but in the background we had this 360-degree image. Turn off the background.
Va también a desactivar el fondo y el domo lo va a cambiar de color para que sea un azul un poco más oscuro.
And now what we have is using only the dome light with a simple color without texture, just something like the night sky. For the light temperature, the color as a temperature in kelvins.
Ahora le puede cambiar la temperatura de la luz, la direccionalidad también, para que esté más focalizada.
And everything else is, something really nice. We don't have V-Ray moon. We don't have V-Ray moon because the moon is not a light source. But you can convert the V-Ray sun to V-Ray moon when you change the color and tweak the intensity to decrease the intensity of the sun.
Esta es muy buena.
Something slightly.
Está muy buena. Está utilizando el sunlight para convertirlo en luna. Entonces le cambia la intensidad y le cambia el color para dar ese efecto.
In a nighttime shot, keep in mind that it's a good idea to turn off auto exposure and auto white balance, because all the time you want warm artificial lights and cold environment light. The auto exposure, auto white balance will mix them. If you want to have control, turn it off. If you want everything to be automatically, turn it on. But it's up to you for your workflow. And everything is in the color corrections. From the frame buffer.
Perdona, ¿cómo podemos guardar todos los parámetros que está cambiando?
Para que se oiga.
Hola. ¿Cómo podemos cambiar todos los parámetros que está aplicando para luego poder recuperarlos y volver, por ejemplo, al modo día de una manera sencilla?
Just a moment, something really nice for the lens scratches. You can create like a real photo scratches, so you can create effects like this from the lenses of the photo camera.
En la nueva versión, en la nueva actualización que han sacado de VRINEX, recientemente han incorporado una nueva forma de mostrar los efectos de lente para que tenga como unas imperfecciones en la cámara, como si la lente de la cámara estuviese rayada o con otros polígonos. Ahora respondo a tu pregunta.
Yeah. Another usage of the history is comparing different results. And that's all, 45 minutes for 4 renderers. Thank you for being part of this viewer experience.